Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in today. I hope you all have got your coffees in because we're going to have a very, very interesting conversation with leaders from, sort of uh, different, uh, different industries in the same sector, right? So just to start with, when we talk about navigating the Indian Odyssey in the insurance sector, a lot is spoken about the penetration in this country, right? Just to throw in some stats, in the financial year 2022, India's insurance penetration was close to about 4.2%, with insurance given to close to about 6 million insurance folks, right? And most of this is covered usually by life insurance, say about close to about 3.2%. And the rest of the 1% is health and other sort of sectors, right? So when we compare this to the US today, where there are close to about, say, 6,000 insurers, obviously the penetration seems very, very low, even though we're gradually moving towards that, right? So just to start with, Anuj, maybe we can start with you on this, right? Considering the low penetration rates on this country, could you elaborate on the key hurdles that you anticipate in achieving this widespread coverage that we're looking at, right? I know there is a mandate that by 2047, we should be able to cover each and everybody in this country. But given the landscape, what are the hurdles that you are seeing and also that you are anticipating?
Thanks, Tanisha, and good morning to all of you. I think Mr. Singh covered in his keynote address in terms of where we are in terms of penetration, what are the initiatives from the government side, from the regulator side. So I'll not get into details over there, but I'll talk about the other side of the table because I'm working in the life insurance industry now for almost 23 years. Have seen it growing from 2001 till now and various phases and how it has grown. So maybe I'll touch upon that in terms of what needs to be done. And you're right, actually, the mandate from the regulator side is insurance for all by 2047, and some steps have been taken in that direction. So first of all, I'd like to mention that technology will be the game changer. The only way in a country like India, we can achieve better penetration, forget about double digits, even to kind of double it from to 3.2 to let's say 7%, 8%, it will be a Herculean task. So technology is going to play a very important role, and I was going through the agenda for today, and I think the sessions which are there, very, very relevant ones. And I think it's really important for all of us to understand what in technology is going to help. So the challenge working in an insurance company now for 23 years is that the cost of distribution is high. Uh, Understanding about products is not all that great. PMJJBY, the government scheme, has helped to some extent, but even on a premium of 436 rupees, not the entire country is insured as of now. It's a fraction, a small fraction, which is insured. So I think we'll have to find ways and means of going beyond tier 2, tier 3 cities and getting into smaller districts, villages. In fact, my co-panelists are going to talk about some of these things. For example, IRDAS has now started with staged insurance plan, where each of the insurance company has been given 2 states to work over there. So I think what is going to be important from penetration perspective, one, to leverage on technology, because no way any company for that matter afford distribution face to face in these villages or some of these smaller towns. So that's very important. Having the right product. So I think the product has to be very, very simple. Today, when we issue a policy bond, and not just in our company in Canada HSBC, but if I look at industry, the policy bond runs into about, if not more, at least 25 to 30 pages. For a person to understand that is almost impossible. So I think we'll have to come up with maybe some kind of sachet products where very, very simple, pure protection, no frills attached, something which can be offered. I think that will be important. Third thing will be reaching out to the customers in their kind of language and what they understand, because most of us here in Mumbai, we understand English, Hindi, at least the main languages. But when we get into deeper into different cities, we find that customers are not even able to speak in English or Hindi. They have to, the dialect has to be local. Today on our IVR, we are there in 9 different languages. But there also we struggle at times because the number of dialects which are there in India. So I think everything will have to be customized. And the cost has to be reasonable. And I'm saying so because I know there are people from InsurTech here who are working on various initiatives. So please be mindful. that the cost has to be very, very reasonable, and a platform has to be robust, where we can onboard crores of customers. So it's not about few lakh customers, it's about covering the entire country. So as I mentioned, I think customer service will become very, very important. So it's not just about first time sale, but it's also relevant that how do we kind of continue with the customer for his lifetime? Because this is not what I'm talking about is not a GI product which is for a year or so. It is a product which will continue throughout the lifetime of the policy holder. So these are some of the aspects I'd like to talk about. And I think insurance penetration will increase in this country. As I've seen from 2001, the way insurance has grown, I think there is tremendous potential. But I think we just have to change our mindset in terms of what we can offer to the customers. And particularly during COVID times, this is what we have seen. Those 2 years were very, very difficult. And somehow the industry has navigated and paid thousands of crores of claims to customers. So I think that belief is there, awareness is there. Earlier it was pure push product, but now we see pull also, particularly on the protection side. So I think these things will definitely help, along with the initiatives which Mr. Singh spoke about in the morning about Bima Sugam, Bima Wahak, Bima Vistar. So these are actually going to enable distribution of insurance in other than tier 2, tier 3 cities. I'm not even talking about metros and tier 1 because they're already covered. So I think that should help in terms of increasing penetration across the country.
Some very interesting points there, Anuj, and the fact that you touched upon digital transformation, right? Just because, coming to you, I just wanted to try and understand from your perspective, right? From India First Life Insurance perspective, what are the new innovative strategies that y'all are coming up in order to sort of, penetrate into the market and reach out locally to the customers as well?
Thank you, Tanisha, and good morning, everyone. So, as rightly mentioned, and what exactly digital or any technology or things would do, we are a population of 1400 million, and each state is corresponding to many, many countries in the rest of the world. However, when we look into life insurance, and I'll be very specific to life insurance, I can touch upon health as well, the products are standardized, and we try to gun the same product across all, which is a completely different way. So I think the differentiator across all, which rightly mentioned by Anuj as well, is that is there enough hyper-personalization? Is there genuinely a personalization which meet the needs of the particular customer or the segment? Also, when you talk about what are the changes which we're trying to do, and I'll touch upon what are the things which make us touch about. The other is affordability, right? Now, affordability not necessarily means cheaper, right? The affordability means is it genuinely being affordable for those segments. So there are various things which we are looking. The major again is the biggest one we're trying to do is there is a population of 1400 million. This segmentation cannot necessarily only be the traditional ones, and the traditional segmentation for a life insurance is age, income, gender, occupation, right? That's fine, but we need and this is not very specific to India First. I know others, but definitely for us, we do look into lifestyle patterns, behavior patterns, spend patterns. Try to make not necessarily the standardized products it's like one for all. Customize them, extremely customized. So one is a pitch to be customized, one is the solution to be customized. So both sides we are working on a pitch to be customized, a solution to be customized. From a digital standpoint of view, there is a particular work which we're trying to do, and which is we should be able to launch a bit around that, is a particular product to be sold in 12 steps in WhatsApp journey. There is a protocol which has been done, whatever we call it. The technology officer has shown us it is an amazing one, extremely simple, OTC kind of a product touching to the last mile. That's another one. The various different is also about small things which offer, right? And again, a very specific and offers otherwise. So for example, one of the things which we try to do is you can get a discount on advance premium. So you pay the money earlier, you get a discount. And the discount is actually pretty significant for someone to continue the policy. Now that's just touch upon one of the factors. How do I improve the renewals? Or how do I ensure that the continue of the covers remains? One of the unique another features, and again, I don't want to be specific, but your question is very specific to India First, is that we continue to provide any time you miss premium, you will continue to have 1 year coverage, right? Now, these are very, very smaller facts. Because of the nature in the way life insurance works, unfortunately, and that's very important, is that our products are very standardized. It actually does not need into. So we require a long-term commitment. We require the premiums to be level. We need to ensure so many years premium to be paid. The customer doesn't look like that. They requires a lot of flexibility. If you look at other banking products, any other product for that matter, there are substantial flexibility. So these are ways and means we try to move towards technology, and I'll touch upon others over the time.
Oh, absolutely, very interesting. I think, especially today with such a competitive landscape that we have and such a small pool to sort of tap into, I think it's so important to sort of have these strategies in place and have a very omni-channel engagement aspect as well, right? Like you mentioned about the WhatsApp journey aspect of it as well, right? Speaking of which, data then in this case becomes extremely, extremely important. And, data is king, like we say. Of course, being within the bounds of compliances and, sort of some guidelines given by the regulatory authorities. So, Sunil, coming to you, what are the trends that you're seeing in the insurance sector, especially when it comes to digital transformation, right? We are moving towards a very tech-focused country in general. But what do you think are the trends that you're seeing in the insurance sector specifically?
Great question. I think any business discussion today, across any industry, cannot be complete without technology. Mr. Singh talked about our penetration challenges and the vision to insurance for all by 2047. A lot of support from government and IRDA on the policy part. And Anuj mentioned the challenges of penetration. He also brought in another very important aspect related to cost of customer acquisition, cost of customer servicing. And Bikash brought in a very important point, which is you can't segment the customer just on 2-3 standard parameters which you used to do. So that intuitively means understanding customer as one, N is equal to 1, hyper personalization. And that's where you are able to segment that market into, the way you want to address that market. So coming about transformation, I think this is the best time you could be in insurance. This is the tipping point. I would say this is the UPI moment for insurance. Why? 3-4 things. One is the opportunities, penetration levels are low, right? But you have a demography which is changing. You have awareness which is increasing. And you have government policies, and Mr. Singh mentioned about UHI, the health ID, which is actually going to be the equivalent of UPI for health, right? So that's on the policy side, on the market side. And on investment side, you see there's a lot of fund flow coming into insurance today. You saw the IPO of LIC last year. So it's a great sector to be in. The question is, how do you quickly acquire customers? How do you service them in a very cost-effective manner? And how do you innovate around product? Now, product innovation is a function of course, the functional, what is the product here? But do you have the ability of distributing that product to a tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 saturation he mentioned? Right. And how does that customer really pay for that product? Is your payment interface, structured in a way that someone who is sitting in tier 4 in India can actually pay? Or are you going to ask him to collect money physically? Right. So on the customer experience side, even if you look at metros, it's very, it's the various levels of experience you get today. WhatsApp is the most common channel. You still get your policy docket in paper, but you communicate back on WhatsApp. So is your communication engine enabled to deliver uniform communication across various channels? So that's the communication part. Then cost of servicing a customer, cost of operations becomes very, very important. And that's where having a front end where you're acquiring customers across channels, right? And then being able to service that, giving that leverage to your ops teams, giving your leverage to your, underwriting teams, giving that workbench where they're able to take those decisions in a very intuitive manner. And while they are taking those decisions, there is data available, But there's also, data available from third-party sources like insurtechs, like fintechs, which you can actually use to underwrite, and then mapping that to the complete journey of that customer. And the test point really comes when you're doing claims, right? That's the next battleground. That is an opportunity, obviously, optimize your cost, but also an opportunity to be someone who has the best claims ratio and the most customer friendly claims. So across that entire life cycle, right from onboarding across a very diverse country, to policy issuance, to policy servicing, to claims, and service request management, policy servicing. That's where your tech stack becomes very important. And broadly in insurance, like in banking, and we play a big part in banking and in insurance as a technology provider, you can really break it into three areas. One is your entire front end, which can be a portal, mobile, any channel, or even physical in certain cases, right? Your branch will still play a part. You will still have agency who will, talk to your, because insurance continues to be a product, at least some of the live products. So that's one part. The second part is your entire operations layer, where you have integrations built with your core life system, your CRM systems, and other financial accounting systems, which are again important because without which you can't do those decisioning. And the third part is how do you leverage all that information to bring innovation, because that's the wealth you have. How do you bring that innovation to give a better product to the customer? And last point, which you mentioned, while you do all this with the DPDP Act coming into play and issues related to cybersecurity, consent management again in insurance will become very important right from the time of onboarding, from consent withdrawal. Then how do you keep an audit trail of all your interaction points with the customer, because you have liability, and today with the new bill you have financial liability. So that's where tech will play a big part on solving those problems. But I think it will play a bigger part in helping penetration, because any industry which is at this tipping point cannot grow just by brick and mortar. Technology will play an important part.
Right. No, absolutely. Just, you did mention the DPTP Act, and, a lot has been spoken about that. And people are trying to, especially insurance companies, are trying to navigate their head around this. So, since, you are an enabler in this space, what are the kind of sort of challenges have you seen with the DPDP Act? And how do you think people are trying to overcome those? Maybe some 2-3 tangible points from you on that.
Yeah, I think there are again three different layers to that, and some people still grappling with it. But it's something you cannot procrastinate anymore on. One is the complete layer of consent management, right? The power is with the user, and so since you are a data fiduciary as a service provider, you have to make sure that you're aligned with the various rules within the act. From the time of providing entire information which is to be made available to the user when he makes the consent, when he withdraws the consent, and then including your ecosystem, because there's some data element which you share with your partners in the ecosystem. And when you are a data fiduciary, it's equally your responsibility to make sure that when the consent is withdrawn or there's a change in stance, change in status, you have accountability for that also. So we do provide some level of technology assessment and help in making sure that you cover a lot of those aspects around that. But it will really start from what is your overall policy to implement the provisions of DPDP Act, and then the underlying tech stack which will help you achieve that.
Nimish, coming to you, right? Technically, you are the first point of contact, considering you are the head of marketing at Eva Bhupa, right? And as earlier Mr. Singh mentioned, that health is a sunrise sector at the moment, right? So what has been your experience in terms of providing an amazing customer experience today in such a competitive landscape, right, in the insurance sector? And what are the new innovative strategies are you implementing so that you can reach the last mile customer, whether it be locally or otherwise, and sort of provide information and awareness to them?
Hi, thank you, Tanisha, and good morning, everyone. I've joined health insurance sector about 3 years back, and in terms of three big things that I've seen in this sector, and I've also looked at some of the consumer researches and BCG report and various reports that are available in the public domain. The three big shifts that are happening in the health insurance sector, and COVID has a large role to play. We can't wish it away. The first big trend that I see that is happening is down aging. Younger customers are very interested in understanding about health insurance. That has never been the case. The Google search on health insurance, keyword health insurance, and that's a great surrogate to what we can gauge about the customer. Overall, Google search on health insurance keyword is growing about 32% year on year post pandemic. That in itself is a big testament to the change in mindset. This purchase is not getting fueled by anxiety of COVID, but people really want to be secured. Now, for the younger cohort, this search is up by 171%. And we've not yet hit the season. The typical season, because of tech, soap, etc., is DJFM. April to October, the Google searches for this cohort is up by 171%. So there's a large segment of India who has not come into the mix of insurance, health insurance companies, because the typical age of an advisor who sells health insurance policy is 47. The typical age of the customer that he deals with is between 40 to about 65. So the large distribution channel of the health insurance segment, which is advisor, is not catering to the segment. This segment is being catered by the aggregators like Policy Bazaar, some of the new insurtech companies. Now, this segment wants to understand what is happening in health insurance, and hence a lot of consumer awareness initiatives, etc., are very important. So that's one big trend. The second trend is women taking participation in the decision of buying health insurance. 50% of our country is women. And unfortunately, in insurance, if you look at any advertisement, if you look at the literature around insurance, it's been woven, keeping the distributor in mind. And if there was a consumer face to it, it's woven keeping the man of the house in mind. But what has happened in COVID, and there are countless stories, the man of the house is in the hospital. The wife doesn't even know whether we are insured or not. And hence it has become very important from a household standpoint that women are taking a very strong role in terms of understanding what are we buying and what are we not buying. We as a company, when we transitioned from Max Bupa to Niva Bupa, we could have picked any name under the sun. Because Max was going out and we could not typically use their trade name, we chose Niva because it represents women. It represents the power that the women God has, right? And a lot of our advertisement has women, but of course, the industry needs to do far more than just creating few ads. But this is a large segment which is now looking at understanding health insurance. I typically say from a drawing room conversation between the man of the house and the agent, the health insurance conversation has moved to the dining room, where everybody in the family, like a car or a paint, what painting needs to be done. The third big shift that I see is this entire mindset shift. And this is a very large statement. There's a very old English proverb which says that you can take a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? Today, consumers are trying to understand more about health insurance. And that is a big shift, which is in general kind of a thing. So that's the three trends that I see in terms of what we are doing around these three things only.
Maybe if you can get a little bit into the specifics, right? Sunil, you mentioned about omni-channel engagement and making a segment for your sort of benefit so that you understand where the communication and the engagement that you do, whether it be with men or women, is very contextual, right? So if you can touch upon a little bit of what are the kind of cohorts that you see or the segments that you tap into in order to sort of reach out and engage with these customers, maybe one or two examples.
Is this to be?
Yes.
So very interesting. We have women are various parts, and Mr. Vikash was talking about psychographic segmentation, and digital is a great tool to get some behavior. So there's a woman who's a mom, okay, and how do we know that she's a mom? Because her social and her signals in terms of consumption patterns is around a mother of a toddler, somewhere between the age of 2 years to about 6 years. She's consuming a lot of content in terms of how to nourish the kid, what is the best supplement to give, what is the right height and weight chart, etc. Now, we run a lot of targeted, we do a lot of experiments. We run a lot of targeted advertisement for those cohort. There's a cohort which is 50 years plus, right? Now, this lady needs to be insured, and logically the decision rests with her husband. But what we need to kind of see, women, the role that women have played in our household is very interesting, right? They are the one who has always looked after the health of the household. Now, women in the age group of 40 to about 53, our experiments have been has shown significant traction when we communicate to them what is the role, what has happened in a specific household where they were insured by any insurer, right? So the role of leveraging a claimant or somebody who has been a beneficiary, people trust people, that's a human insight, right? And a lot of work that we do is about using these claimants as our brand ambassadors. So that's one big experiment that has shown some result. The third cohort, which we are still not able to crack, we did not have the right product, we are launching as I speak, is this working women. Women in the age group of 22 to 31 or 32 who are who have the disposable income, they're very educated. I've done some consumer research along with my team. The interesting thing that I came out from this consumer research is they know there is something called health insurance that exists. They know it is very important. Their belief is it is not important right now. It is something that I would like to do when I'm 35. How do we drive that sense of urgency? And sense of urgency could not just be a interesting advertisement. It has to be a tangible, because the youngsters today, including women, are very rational in their decision making, far more rational than I was. So you have to back why should they buy now. We have an interesting product launch that is happening, but if I talk about it, I'll be doing an advertisement.
So, coming to you, Anuj, I think Nimish touched upon the fact that people trust people, right? But especially in the insurance sector and with some of the breaches that are happening, maybe claims not coming on time, and a lot of those factors, what do you think is that one or two things that you can do to instill that trust in people, right? And change that little bit of mindset towards the insurance sector?
No, I think it's a good question because currently what is visible is trust deficit in certain pockets. And I think if you look at the key reason why it happens, the reason is that the product is too complicated. Customer is not able to understand. Number two, how frequently are we engaging with the customer in simple terms? So I think that is where the problem is. Insurance, while it is complicated, but if you look at protection, I think protection everyone understands. So the problem is that right now the product is too complicated, or I'll say generally insurance products are complicated. We need to simplify. If we simplify, I think there will be less confusion, if I can use that word, and it will be crystal clear to the customer that what is this product about? What can he or she expect out of it? So I think that is number one. Number two, I think, and again, it's not across. There are certain pockets where insurance frauds are happening. And that is when then insurance companies have to then go for claims investigation and blah, blah. So which at times create inconvenience or bad customer experience. So I think once we are able to using technology, again, I'll talk about technology, because what is happening is that currently in India, the medical records are also not integrated, right? If you want to know the health status of the prospect, you can't. Similarly, the death records are also not standardized. There is no central registry as of now. I think government is now gradually working towards that. So once some of these things are there in place, then I think it will be a very transparent kind of process where I think the trust deficit should get addressed. So I think that's what is important for the industry at this point in time. And again, I'm repeating, technology is going to play a very important role, because there's no other way that industry can actually kind of reach out to the customers en masse. So that is about trust deficit. One thing more I would like to talk about, because this is about technology and innovation, I think the expectation from the industry is very different. As a CEO of Canara HSBC Life Insurance, now my expectation from my IT team, from my chief operating officer is be agile. If I'm asking for something, don't tell me that it will take 2 years to develop. By the time I think the relevance of that product is gone. I want something in 3 months' time, 6 months' time. How agile can we be? In fact, this is the conversation which I end up having with my IT partners also. And I'm assuming that there'll be people here from technology, from fintechs and insurtechs. Try to find some kind of quick solutions. If anybody is coming and saying it will take me a year or 2 years to give you an end-to-end solution, I think the conversation ends there. So we are now looking as a company for technology and for partners who can deliver fast. There will be some risks known, which is fine. I think everyone has a risk appetite. But it's very important now in the times when technology is changing, is becoming obsolete every year, every 2 years, that if you can bring agility around that. And see, industry is not going to look at now L1, that who is going to provide me the cheapest service. Industry is going to look at who can provide me the fastest service, even if it is coming at a slight premium. So that's something which I wanted to mention because I think the relevant people are here. So that's what is the ask from the other side of the table when we are running an insurance business.
No, absolutely. I think you hit that nail on the head, because actually, literally, trends are changing almost every 2 months. So, waiting for something for a year for you to, sort of implement something can obviously be very counterproductive. So, just on the trust factor, right? I just wanted to understand from you, like today, what happens is, you come out with new products in the market and they can also become obsolete, right? And the customers are also becoming very demanding. Like Mr. Singh said, they want a new sort of product every single time. So how are you navigating through this, right? Like what is your strategy in order to come out with a new product? Is it basically driven by what the customer wants, or do you see like a larger pie and then sort of innovate on your new products?
Before I answer this question, one thing I would like to mention is that regulator has been very supportive. And with use and file, and in fact now they have set up another committee to see how we can further liberalize. I think the regulator has done their job in terms of telling the industry that you have the flexibility, do what you want with some very kind of order conditions. So I think that's in place. Now the problem is that again, you can't have too many products because it becomes very difficult for distributor of even for customer to understand. So I think what we need is basically sachet product and then riders on top of it. So it's like you go to a restaurant and you want to have something, you want to have quick bite of something else also, you can order that. So I think that's how it will work now. And also I'd like to mention that product development actually is a very costly affair, not just in terms of taking the necessary regulatory approvals or whatever, designing the product, but also operational part of it, which is having the technology. And I think Sunil talked about that omni-channel approach. These things do cost a lot. So when you launch a new product, making sure that end-to-end it is covered is not an easy job. So I think need of the hour is simple products and maybe with some additional riders which customer can opt for. Otherwise, I think launching product every 2 months, 3 months is not possible. It's not sustainable.
Vikas, just quickly coming to you and your 2 cents on, how do you drive new products in the market, right? And how do you instill that trust as well? On the similar lines with Anuj.
Sure. Thank you. I'll probably be a very specific example of one of the trust things. So we are the lead insurers for Madhya Pradesh for life insurance. And we were meeting the chief secretary before the election. We are also the second largest provider of PMJJ, being a public sector, right? So we covered about on 1 crore lives. Very simply, the question over there was, fine, it's a simple product. There is a moment of truth. It's a 1-0 binary. You die, you'll get the claim, provided it's a genuine claim. And in PMJJ, of course, the rejections are not there, say. The question, we took an initiative, and thanks to all the life insurers who supported us. And what we said is, the question what the secretaries and the additional CS, which was the government of MP, was that we don't even know that the people are aware that they have a claim. I said, okay, no problem. So we have started the work on this, and moment of this, we're taking a dead data from the BDOs as a sample. We have taken 3 or 4 BDOs. We have consulted with all the life insurers, and we said, you share us the data. We require a unique key, and they agreed that yes, we have the Aadhaar number. So Aadhaar date of birth, and all you need to do is we backtest the data with our PMJJ claims, and if there is a claim, done. So that's one of the way of doing a moment of truth, proactively initiating, though of course it's a dent for us. But at the fore fact is, there are 2 unique things, and again very specific to life insurance, is A, we will provide protection where nobody else can do that. we will provide long-term guarantee, which nobody else can do that. So those are the things from a trust standpoint of view, just adding or alluding to what Anu said, one of the ways initiating, we are doing that, and hopefully that will be some green shoots to provide trust to the customers. From a innovation standpoint of view, I'll continue to be from that standpoint of view, that what are we as a differentiator? As a BFSI industry, there will be enormous number of products. To stay relevant, we will offer as a me too, right? But on a me too, there has to be a plus plus, not minus minus. So that plus plus is something we need to understand, which is uniqueness to it, which is protection. So when you talk about protection, and rightly mentioned by Mr. Singh, so there is clearly a population which is aging. And if you see now, there is a huge uptake of annuity, thanks to NPS. Of course, there are challenges, and I'm working with the PFRDA about this whole NPS then converting to annuity, and we are working towards that as well. So is the industry as well. But they're actually offering amazing products, right? There is an annuity vis-a-vis an FD, right? And people need to understand that they are completely different products versus an FD with an interest to a principal payback to an annuity with a return of premium. And of course, you have to be relevant, means you need to at least provide something which is useful from a monetary standpoint of view. Otherwise, it would lead to mis-selling. So that's another part. The other part, and I was just there with the CII conference about a paper which the CII is presenting to the Ministry of DFS on one of the segments being pension. And the point which we were discussing, alluding again at that point in time, is the affordability. So we say you save for pension, and at that point in time, you will save for your living expenses through the annuity or anyways other expenses or other modes. What are the bigger challenges over there is the affordability of health premium. The fact that at that particular age, and again, Mr. Singh did touch upon, there is a need for looking at you start to save early for your health. You can talk about whether it is a health saving account, an HSA, and I'm giving some little technical terms because this is an insurance sector. So you need to save early in order for you to afford your health premiums during your golden years. So that's something we are again thinking of. The other is, again, just touch upon this 1400 million population. There is a significant middle class. And again, I'll take the point of what Nimesh is saying. There is an untapped market of females. Do we genuinely have female specific products, or we provide a generic product and provide some discount and give it to women? So we need to really understand that is our mindset around women's specific products. There are certain needs. The typical needs, as I said, they would take break because of the biological reasons. There are very specific illnesses they go through. There is a particular age in which there are different illnesses compared to others. Are we actually designing that kind of a mindset and the emotional aspect to it? It cannot every time be only return or something, or even protection. There has to be a lot of emotional needs, and there is a lot of work which is going on over there as well. The other innovation is look into different markets. So look for Gift City. There are other markets as well. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And some absolutely amazing points. I'm sure the audience has taken a lot today, and they're taking back as well. So I think just to summarize this, before we open the floor to the audience to ask some questions, I think the insurance sector is looking and moving in a very, very positive direction. I think the most focus, like you mentioned, there should definitely be agility and adoption of new technologies. Like Nimish mentioned, it's very, very important to have a very omni-channel approach and also cater to each kind of gender as well in the environment, right? So thank you so much, the panelists. I think I had a lot of fun, and I think I'm also taking away quite a few pointers. Just wanted to know if the audience had any questions for the panelists. Would love to hear some questions from the audience here. Any questions? Oh, I think there's a lady in the back, if you can pass her the mic.
Can we please pass the mic on to that? Thank you. Hi, I'm Priyanka Agarwal. I'm representing Future Generali Life Insurance here. One question, we all spoke of hyper-personalization, we spoke of simplifying insurance, customer journeys, etc. Now, I come from communication, so very selfish interest in knowing how do you feel investments in communications and marketing agendas is important to take our products to the market, please.
Maybe I think Nimish should.
I sense your pain in that question. Okay. I think I've been a marketing professional for when I started about 16 and a half, 17 years now. I think as the industry is becoming consumer first, it is still a push industry. That's my understanding. It'll still, but there are green shoots, and everybody in the management team is aware of that the consumer is now taking a center stage. I talked about data from Google. You look at the amount of investment that is happening on insurance just in the last World Cup or IPL. Never before. The overall advertising spend of the, I'll talk about health, is less than 1% of the top line. Because this is an industry which has got a very high distribution cost. That's what Anuj was referring to. It's a very high distribution cost. Uh, but as the consumer is taking an interest in understanding why health insurance nahi, kitna, how much should I have and what all should I have, as the consumer is taking interest, the marketing folks and the communication folks will take a very, very strong center stage. Because I sense in the next 5 years, this will may still not be a pull industry, but the balance of power between the consumer and the distributor would be equibalanced. And that's a great place to be. I don't know whether I've answered your question. Thank you.